So for anyone who uses the internet regularly, particularly as a developer or professional, there's a very powerful tool that most people aren't aware of in your web browser, and it's known as keywords. What keywords allows you to do is to define a shortcut that you can quickly get to a particular website with specific options in the URL of that website. Let me show you why that's powerful. So for example, I do a lot of web development and I help a lot of clients set up websites. Quite frequently, I need to do a bit of research into available domain names. Now, I could just bookmark the Whois registry, and I could search it every time and type in information. Or I can set up a shortcut where I simply type who, and then whatever domain name that I want to. In this case, I'm going to put Tamashi, my favorite Japanese taiko drumming team. And you can see what has happened is that here in Mozilla Firefox, the URL has changed and it's brought up Tamashi's information. That keyword who has been defined to bring up this URL and embed that word Tamashi and Z into the domain name so that it could then produce the information that I wanted. And you can configure this any way you want. You can use it to bring up Google Maps for any particular town you want. You can use it to bring up your favorite Mexican restaurants. You can use it whatever way brings you the most joy and makes it easiest for you to do your job. One very interesting thing you can do with this keyword feature is make it easy to generate a QR code containing the URL that you're looking at, and then scan it on your phone. So let's demonstrate why that's very powerful. Let's say that I'm looking at this web page right now on my desktop, and I want to view it on my iPhone. So how can I do that? The easiest way to do that, rather than typing it all in, is to simply define a shortcut that generates the QR code on my desktop and then scan it from my phone. Here's how that would look. I've already defined a shortcut with the code QR. And as the information I'm passing to that shortcut, I want the full URL with https:// all of the information I want. I press enter, and you can see that what's happened is it's taken that URL information and generated a new URL, which actually points to Google's Charts API. You can see the URL information in here, all this gobbledygook, and there are quite a few options for generating QR codes as well, such as the size and information. Now, if you haven't used a QR code before, all you need is a simple application on your phone. It comes with some phones pre-installed, such as on Android phones. And here on the iPhone, I prefer this app called Scan. So all I need to do is open that application and point my phone at the QR code I want to scan, and that information is transferred. Now, because it was recognized as an internet URL, the iPhone immediately opened my web browser and displayed the web page. I can now see the exact same web page here, and I can check it out. This is particularly useful if your role is as a website designer. If I need to see often how my website looks on my phone, this is a nice way to do that. So again, QR, make certain that you have the full URL, generate a QR code, simply open whatever scanning application you want to use and point it at the QR code, and soon you will see the web page loaded that you've chosen. This makes it very easy for you to make certain that your responsive design is working well, that certain modules in your web page are appearing or disappearing for mobile phone use, that your menus are working fine, and so on. Things you simply can't test effectively on your desktop. So let's have a look at how that's set up. In Mozilla Firefox, this ability to create a shortcut code on your URL bar is part of the Bookmarks feature. So if you look under Bookmarks, in my case, I've created a search folder and put all of my keyworded bookmarks in this location to make it easy for me to find and to manage and not lose them with all of my other bookmarks. So I can quickly search Google. I can quickly bring up Google Images. I've defined GI to do quick Google image searches. I've defined icon to quickly search for icons that I need, and so on, for all my different application development efforts. For QR codes, here's the bookmark that I've defined. Now you can see here there is a keyword field. You may have always wondered what this was for. This is for that shortcut on your URL bar. So I've told it I want it to respond to the keyword QR. And then here is the URL to Google's Charts API, which I have generating the QR code for me. You can see the chart type is QR. You can see the size I've specified. If you're interested in these details, have a look at Google's Charts API reference, and you can modify this any way you want. The important thing here is at the end of the URL, there's a CHL parameter. This is the content that will be encoded into the QR code. And in this case, I want a URL encoded into the QR code. So what I've done is put %s, which says whatever I've typed in after the QR space is going to be inserted here. Now let's have a look at if I do something different. QR space, hello, this is a test. Now this is not a URL, obviously. Google Charts does not care whether it's a URL or not. It's just looking to encode information. So it's going to take that content and encode it just fine. If I scan this, however, my phone will recognize that this is not a URL, and it's simply going to recognize it as plain text. And as you can see, what's happened is it's simply displayed it. The application that you use for scanning may behave differently, but this is normally what would happen for plain text content in a QR code. It's worth noting as well that other types of URLs can be recognized specially. So for example, let's suppose that I'm looking at a URL in the iTunes store. I want to install a certain application. I've been researching different types of journaling apps, and I've come across this one that referred to as Day One. I can see here is an iTunes URL. So I want to have a look at this app. I do some reading, I look at the ratings, I check out the screenshots, and I say, yeah, this looks pretty good. I want to get it onto my phone. How do I find this on my phone? Now, oftentimes you can do a search within the app's installation tool on your phone, but on occasion this can be very difficult to find the application you're looking for. The easier way is to simply use that QR feature. Here I've got the URL to the iTunes application, and I'm simply going to put QR space in front of it to encode that. See, there's quite a bit of information in that URL. Now when I scan it, it's going to behave a little bit differently. Instead of opening my web browser, you can see here at the bottom of the screen, it's actually opened my Applications Management tool. The reason for that is it's recognized that this is an iTunes URL, and it's handled it specially and handed it off to a different application. I can simply click Get Now and install this application. This makes it much easier for me to get around between my PC and my phone and push information across. Let's do a quick walkthrough again on how to set this up on your web browser. Here's the URL, which I'm going to include in the comments below, so you can simply copy and paste it. It's the Google Charts API with a few settings to configure it and encode it a certain way, and then the all-important %s, which tells it where to insert the content after your keyword on the URL bar. So to create this bookmark and set it up in my web browser, what I'm going to do is simply copy this content. I'm going to go to my bookmarks feature. Wherever I want to store this, I recommend creating a search folder to keep them together. I'm simply going to right click and I'm going to create a new bookmark. I'm going to paste this URL into the location, double checking everything is there. I've got my %s at the end. I've got my http / at the front. And I'm going to give it a keyword. In this case, I already have QR. I'm going to put QR1 just as a temporary measure. And I'm going to click Add. Now, anytime I type QR1, it's going to recognize that special keyword that I've set up, and it will attach that URL. So for example, if I put http:// google.com, it's going to encode google.com into the QR code and then display that to me. Google Chrome handles this a little bit differently, but in a very similar manner. In Google Chrome, shortcuts work almost the same way, but instead of being part of bookmarks, it's considered to be a custom search engine. The way to create that is here. In the URL bar, if I right-click, I can see an Edit Search Engines option. Choosing that will show me the list of all of the configured search engines that Google recognizes. To add my own search engine, I simply click the Add button, type in the name of the search engine I want. I'm just going to call it QR code. The keyword I want is QR. And I'm going to paste in the same URL that I used in Mozilla Firefox. And it takes exactly the same format with the %s in place of the information I want it to insert. But create that. Let's give it a try. Now Google Chrome handles this slightly differently. When I type QR and press space, it immediately recognizes that that is a special search engine request, and it brings up search Google QR code. When I type in whatever I want, http://yahoo.com, it's now encoding that QR code, displaying the page exactly the same way that we did in Firefox, and I can scan that code to bring up whatever content that I've defined. This is a very handy feature. I highly recommend that you use it heavily. Keywords can be used to get you all around the web very, very easily, including access to administrative consoles, accessing your favorite artwork repositories, searching your stock photo archives, basically making your life a whole lot easier.